Hey folks, this is Rhykker with another Diablo lore video. This is part 3 in a series in which we explore the major players in the story of Diablo. From the Nephilim to Tyrael to Deckard Cain to Diablo himself. And we give a crash course on what exactly is going on story-wise in this game series. Feel free to check out episode 2 if you haven't, and make sure you have subscription notifications turned on to be alerted of new episodes. In our first 2 episodes, we discussed the creation of angels and demons, their eternal conflict, and how renegades from both factions came together to create the secret world of Sanctuary and the human race. Now, there's a major event that took place in the history of the Diablo universe, an event called the Sin War. And this event was so important that Blizzard actually published a trilogy of novels based around it, authored by Richard A. Nack. Now, the Sin War basically was a secret fight for Sanctuary and the humans that inhabited it. But before we talk about the Sin War, we need to give a little bit more backstory on some of the major players involved, particularly the Primevals. So the Primevals, aka the Three, aka the Brothers. These are the 3 demon lords that rule over all of the burning hells. In Diablo 2, we encounter and kill all 3 of them. The Primevals led the demons in the eternal conflict against the angels of the high heavens. And as we discussed in our first lore video, all 3 were spawned by 3 of the biggest, strongest heads of Baphomet. So who were the 3? Well, we start with Mephisto, aka Dul Mephistos, the Lord of Hatred. He's the eldest of the 3 brothers, and he's said to be the most intelligent of them. He would often manipulate his brothers to pit them against each other for the purposes of general dickishness. Undead creatures are said to be the minions of Mephisto, presumably the undead that are not directly summoned by necromancers. Mephisto is also the father of Lilith, who we discussed in our previous episode, and he also has a son who we'll discuss in a bit. Next we have Baal, aka Tor Balos, the Lord of Destruction. He is the most reckless and brash of the Primevals, possibly because he's the middle child, so, you know, he acts up because he doesn't get the privileges of the older child Mephisto, or the indulgences of little baby Diablo. Speaking of Diablo, we have Diablo, also known as Al Diabolos. Who knows him as this? No one knows him as this. The Lord of Terror and the youngest of the Primevals. So he's like the annoying little brother to Baal and Mephisto. It's like Baal and Mephisto want to go to the arcade, and Mom's like, I'll bring little Diablo with you. I'm like, Ma, come on. Now, last we left off in the story of Sanctuary, neither the high heavens nor the burning hells knew about the existence of Sanctuary, or the humans that inhabited it. However, they did know something was up. Remember, the eternal conflict between angels and demons, who are immortal and when they die just respawn, revolved around vying for control of the World Stone. And that World Stone was stolen to create Sanctuary and lies at the heart of Sanctuary. Well, during one of the Primeval's countless attacks on the Pandemonium Fortress, Mephisto, being the smart one, noticed that angels were withdrawing from the fortress. He wanted to take some time to analyze the situation, but Baal, the impatient one, craving nothing but wanton destruction, stormed the fortress and realized that the World Stone was gone. It's kind of a hard thing to miss. The Primevals captured and tortured angels, but no one seemed to know where the World Stone was. Baal did have suspicions, though, and pointed out to Mephisto that his daughter Lilith had gone missing. I guess Mephisto was just such a bad dad that he didn't even realize his own daughter was missing. So Baal jumped to conclusions that turned out to be correct, and assumed that Lilith was responsible for the World Stone vanishing. And he demanded that they find her, kill her, and retrieve the World Stone. Well, easier said than done. I mean, how do you find something or someone that is in a place that you don't even know exists? The short answer is, you don't. And if it wasn't for the colossal screw-up of human mages, the Primevals would have never learned about Sanctuary, and none of the Diablo games would have ever been made. So let's talk about these mages. As we previously established, the people of Sanctuary spread out throughout the world as the power of the Nephilim faded. In the Eastern Empire of Kejistan, some groups of people formed mage clans. We visit several locations in Kejistan in both Diablo 2 and Diablo 3. Basically, if you're ever somewhere that is sandy or a jungle, you're probably in Kejistan. So these mage clans comprised the most powerful spellcasters of Sanctuary at the time, and they were one of the most powerful ruling bodies of Kejistan. One of the greater mage clans was the Vizjari. Vizjari.
were originally humans until the Viserai corrupted them.
So the Viserai, aka the Brotherhood of the Viserai, aka the Spirit Clan. In Diablo 1, the sorcerer that you can play as was a sorcerer of the Viserai. In Diablo 2 Act 2, Jaren's palace was a former Viserai fortress. That explains why there was a portal to the Arcane Sanctuary in the cellar. You know, most cellars are infested with rats, but I suppose Mage Fortress cellars get infested with arcane portals. Also, Drognin, a merchant in Luco Lane, was a Viserai, and Irina, the Enchantress follower in Diablo 3, was a servant to a Viserai mage, which is how she learned magic. Now, in modern times, the Viserai focus on elemental magic, but when they first formed, their magical arts revolved around conjuring, summoning, and communing with spirits. You know, that's why they were known as the Spirit Clan. And this focus is largely thanks to one particularly talented mage known as Jera Harash. When he was just a young Viserai acolyte, Harash had a dream. An epiphanous dream that granted him insight into a heretofore unknown power. Oh, I went there. I said heretofore. And this ability was to command the spirits of the dead. And apparently no one questioned this epiphany. Oh, hey, I figured out how to summon spirits into the world. Came to me in a dream. Nah, it's all good. I'm sure nothing bad will come of this. So he refined this summoning process, which allows a mage to drain the energy of the dead and summon a spirit into the world. A power that let the Viserai become the most powerful mages ever. Now, while he was attempting to completely master control of the spirit world, Harash one day found himself possessed by one of these spirits, and the spirit took him on a killing spree. Now, in case you haven't connected the dots, these spirits were actually demons from the burning hells. But the people of Sanctuary at the time had no concept of what a demon was, so yep, spirit, sure. That would soon change. So it was through the acts of Harash and the Viserai that the Burning Hells came to find out about Sanctuary. Good job. Well done. Good job there. The Primevals immediately recognized the strategic value of Sanctuary, and they sensed the dormant powers of the Nephilim within humanity. And so they wanted to corrupt humanity into a weapon that could be used to finally end the war with the High Heavens. But the Primevals also recognized that the High Heavens didn't seem to have noticed Sanctuary yet, and they wanted to keep things that way. After all, this was supposed to become their secret weapon. So if they were to wage a war on Sanctuary, that would definitely tip off the High Heavens. So instead they went with subterfuge. The plan was to start a religion in Sanctuary that would ultimately corrupt humanity to the will of the Primevals. A religion called the Triune. Get it? Triune, like three Primevals. So let's talk about this Temple of the Triune, aka the Cult of the Three. Since it's difficult to convince people to join a religion dedicated to hatred, destruction, and terror, and whose ultimate goal is to enslave its members, the Triune, through clever use of the power of lying, was outwardly a benevolent religion. The Triune's core message was that through selfless worship and devotion, you could improve your life and unlock your true potential. Hell, if this were in modern times, they would probably publish a self-help book that would be peddled by Ty Lopez in 30-second YouTube commercials. Here in my garage, just bought this new Lamborghini Diablo. That's a real thing, look it up. Now, the Triune consisted of 3 smaller cults, sort of like a cultception, with each cult devoted to one of the Triune's 3 guiding spirits. Yes, the same kind of spirit that the Viserai summoned into the world. So you had the Order of Dialon, devoted to Dialon, the spirit of determination, who was actually Diablo, Lord of Terror. You had the Order of Bala, devoted to Bala, the spirit of creation, who was actually Baal, Lord of Destruction. And you had the Order of Mephis, devoted to Mephis, the spirit of love, who was actually Mephisto, the Lord of Hatred. So while people were recruited into the Triune under the premise of benevolent ideals, their hearts would gradually darken as they were initiated into the true teachings of the Triune. And the leader of the Triune, whose title was the Primus, was actually the son of Mephisto in disguise, Lucian. Remember earlier we said we would talk about him? Yeah, that's about it. That's all we gotta say about him. For decades, the Triune grew and thrived, establishing a foothold for the Primevals in Sanctuary. But as the Triune rose, so did another religion to rival it. Re-enter Inarius. So last we left off with Inarius, he was the de facto ruler of Sanctuary. Secretly, but nonetheless, this still counts. There were no other angels or demons left in Sanctuary from that renegade group that had formed it, and Inarius had weakened the Nephilim over subsequent generations to become human and no longer a threat to him. But when Inarius became aware of the Triune, he immediately recognized it for what it truly was, and saw through the plan of the Primevals, and he became afraid, for his own safety as well as that of humanity, because, like it or not, they sort of were his adopted children. So he founded the religion of the Cathedral of Light, thus starting the Sin War. He took on a mortal disguise to become the Prophet, the highest authority in the religion, like a pope. Though this religion had no god figure, the Prophet sort of was one. His wisdom, his calm personality, his beauty, and his eternally youthful appearance, despite living for centuries, made it clear to people that he was something more than just a human. But again, people had no concept of angels or demons, so oh hey look, here's this special guy. And he was absolutely admired and adored by his followers. He was like a celebrity. And just like how modern celebrities endorse books and life advice, and get people to believe their ill-informed opinions, just because they're famous despite otherwise lacking the qualifications to be influencing the major life choices of people, Inarius, the Prophet, basically made his religion about him telling people how to live their lives. And for centuries, these two religions coexisted in relatively peaceful competition. It was sort of like a Cold War, if you will, this Sin War. There was never really any direct conflict or confrontation, because both sides were afraid of the high heavens becoming aware of Sanctuary. But all that was about to change with the return of Lilith. What will Lilith do now that she's returned to Sanctuary? Will the Triune or the Cathedral of Light triumph in this battle of the faiths? How will the Sin War come to an end? Will the high heavens ever find out about the existence of Sanctuary? And if so, how? All these questions and more will be answered in future episodes of this series. Stay tuned. Thanks for watching. Special thanks to my Twitch and Patreon supporters for making these videos possible. If you like what I do and would like to support my videos, it's immensely appreciated. You can head over to patreon.com, where we have a bunch of Patreon rewards like behind the scenes things, monthly hangouts, Q&A, and more. If you enjoyed this video, please share it, check out these other videos, and subscribe to join Rhykkers Raiders for more Diablo content.